If you like what you're seeing and hearing, please consider subscribing to the podcast. You can go to either Apple iTunes, the Google Play Store, Spotify, or Amazon Music in the podcast section. It'll hit Monday morning or Sunday afternoon, depending on when it posts. And the video will hit on YouTube and Spotify Monday. Spotify will hit Monday evening, and YouTube it'll hit Monday morning, 7 a.m., just like it does for the audio services. So please go to those places and consider subscribing or listening to the show. You can also write to me at gwgpodfellows@gmail.com if you want to write me a letter. Let me know what you think of the show, things like that. Or you can also find me on Twitter at JustLittleJoe. So go to those places and please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks. And with that, we'll get on to the episode. Hello, my name is Joseph Carlson, and this is episode 235 of Game with Grief. And I'm just doing an early impressions episode of Alan Wake Remastered. The original Alan Wake, not Alan Wake 2. My wife and I talked about that. She's playing Alan Wake 2 right now, and I want to play Alan Wake 2, so it'll probably be a few months in the future with Christmas coming up and things, but I want to do a full thing with my wife who's played Alan Wake 2, a little bit of Alan Wake 1. I want to complete Alan Wake 1, complete Alan Wake 2, because I've heard a very interesting thing about the games. But before I get into everything, let me just give you a little background about Alan Wake 2. It was developed by Remedy Entertainment, and I'm looking at my notes because I'm very unprofessional. But it came out on the 14th of May 2010, originally for the 360, and I want to say PS3, and PC, of course, is what I saw online. Thank you, Wikipedia. And the remastered came out on October 5th, 2021, and it got remastered for, I think, PS4, PS5. It's on the Switch now as well, and Xbox One, S, X, all that kind of stuff. The reason, and you could be saying to yourself, Joe, why are you covering this game? Years ago, people talked about Alan Wake and what it meant, and, like the implications of the ending and kind of what Alan Wake was going through as a character, and I just... I forgot all that, to be honest. I haven't played the game. I want to. But I think that, what I've seen so far, I've completed Chapter 1. I'm on to Chapter 2. Apparently, there's only 6 chapters in the game. According to howlongtobeat.com, which I use to plan these episodes, it takes about 20 hours to complete the game. And right now, it appears that Alan Wake has got some mental issues dealing with grief. His wife has gone missing. But he is a writer. Obviously, Alan Wake is the main character. He's greatly influenced by Stephen King. They even go to instead of Maine, they can't be too on the nose. They have to go to the Northwest. Bright Falls is where, at least in the beginning, where you go to with your wife, it sounds like to have like a romantic getaway because you've been writing a lot lately. But you're involved in a car wreck and she goes missing. And even in these early chapters, it's alluded to that maybe this is all in your head, man. You know, what really happened to your wife? Again, this game came out a long time ago. The remaster came out a couple years ago. I don't know what happened, but I want to see. And I've heard, again, the sequel is good, but I want to see how they bring everything together. Remedy has been doing something lately where they've kind of been pushing this shared universe idea. So I played Control. I reviewed that. You can go back and watch that episode. It's called The Grief of Control. Basically... they're doing, again, a shared universe where elements are combined. I walked in, my wife playing Alan Wake 2. That sounds incredibly inflammatory. I just walked in when she was playing the game. Ati, who's a janitor in Control in the oldest house, is a janitor at a show in Alan Wake 2. I think it's like behind-the-scenes stuff where you are being interviewed about your books. I don't know. I just came in the middle, and Ati's there, and I was like, oh, my God, Ati. But they're doing this thing where things are connected. So playing Control, there's DLC missions in Control that have to do with Alan Wake. I kind of want to see where it all comes from. I'll say this. I was thinking about this when I was, when I was going over my notes and stuff. Again, I'm very early on. I'm only finished Chapter 1. This is an early impressions. Everything, the atmosphere is very good, but it seems a little off, which I think is by design. Everybody's talking in this like over-exaggerated manner. Everything is overwritten because he's an author. You even find pages of his manuscript that are like the dark, bloody, the blood painted the snow red, a terrible snow cone of death, and how is someone to come back from this horrible misery? Those are the pages of the manuscript you find throughout the world. I also appreciate that as a collectible, you find thermoses full of coffee. That seems to be a little bit on the nose for me. I've had several cups of coffee this morning. I might have another. It's cold here in the Northwest. I like how he is from the very beginning questioning his sanity. How, like I said, everything's overwrought, but in a good way. Like to me, all this dialogue is kind of like, "Oh, hello, Mr. Wake," and people are kind of talking over each other. In fact, even the fact that it is remastered, um, I've seen originally the game when it came out, because the way they remastered this, it looks off. And I don't want to be like a big conspiracy guy, but it seems like that is by design. That the way people talk to each other is overwrought. The camera angles are a little bit too close, or a little bit tilted, or it's a little much. But I think again that is by design, and so I'm looking forward to seeing how that kind of plays out in the end. Again, people talk over each other. Your wife Alice is scared of the dark, which you could be like, oh, that is a real fear. People have that fear. And you're just there to console her. I hope, Alan Wake didn't kill his wife, but I guess we'll see, right? I'm trying to think of what else. Let me look over my notes really quick. I know this is very exciting for me to look over my notes. There's always a lighthouse. That's a big joke for BioShock 2. The end of that, they said there's always a lighthouse. There's a lighthouse in this. You have to get to the lighthouse because it is a source of light. The darkness actually attacks you. You have to shine a flashlight on something to kind of break up its darkness shield and then shoot it. I remember early on people criticized and said it got a little repetitive, but it hasn't got there for me yet. It's not as competitive as repetitive as I thought it was going to be. What else? I think Alan, I just wrote this. I think at the end of episode 1, Alan is having a break from reality. So I really don't know what's going on with his wife. I hope it's just not a trope of like, oh, I killed my wife and did all this to forget about it. What else? Visions are cool. So visions are something where you will see a barcode in the world. There's probably one for every chapter. I scanned a barcode with my phone in the very beginning of the game and saw a YouTube short that was about a minute long of Alan Wake just monologuing in a silhouette of the real actor playing Alan Wake typing, and how he was coming up with this, how it was all wrong, how it didn't add up, things like that. And I liked it, and then I scanned a barcode in episode right before the end of episode 2, and there was another one. There was one on the wall of his writing office. He writes with a typewriter. I think all writers wish they could write with the typewriter, but let's be honest, it's not great. It's not great to write with a typewriter unless you have metal hands that can just ka-chunk those keys, Yeah, I think too, again, like I said, everything being overwrought, I like. I like the atmosphere it provokes or instills, or, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for. Alan may be able to help me out. Yeah, and everybody's kind of overdone there. Obviously, one of the influences, too, was Twin Peaks. You can definitely see that, again, in the way people talk. You have visions. They made up their own version of the Twilight Zone called Night Falls, which I really like. And people don't remember Alice or you having a car wreck when you talk to the authorities, like all this kind of stuff. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes. Hopefully it's not the trope of like I killed my wife and I just can't remember. That seems bad. But you know what? People at Remedy know what they're doing. If this continues in a way, it makes me want to, again, play Alan Wake 2. We're going to talk about that later, much later. But like how everything comes together with Control and the DLC, which I haven't played. What I might do is play that after I play this to see how it ties together, because all that Alan Wake DLC for Control came before Control or Alan Wake 2, so it's like in between, like a 0.5. So I want to see how this is going to affect the end of the game. So a short impression video. I had another game I was going to play, but it would have been rushed, and so I didn't want to do that. So I've been playing Alan Wake 2 kind of casually. And listen, I'm going to be the first to admit, I might be burned on this one. This might not be something where, they talk about grief, but he definitely does seem to be suffering from the non-accepting part of grief, the part where you don't accept the fact that the loved one that's in your life is dead. Or is she? I don't know. So I'm just going to tell you guys straight out that I might be burned. I might come to the end of this episode, review the game, and go, you know what? I was wrong. This didn't have anything to do with grief. Again, I didn't want to read too much because I didn't want to be spoiled. I never played it back in the day, and I want to be surprised. Maybe Alan Wake 2 doesn't have those things. Maybe my wife and I will talk about that. I think that's it. I think, again, just like last week, this might be a little shorter. But, again, there's early impressions, and there was another game I was going to pair it up with to compare, do two early impressions like I used to back in the day, but I didn't want to rush it. And so I'm just going to talk about one early impressions game, which is Alan Wake Remastered, or Alan Wake originally. So if you guys want to play along, you have another week. I'll finish my review next weekend, the Thanksgiving Day weekend here in the United States. So, if you celebrate Thanksgiving, have a good Thanksgiving. If you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, try to have a good Thursday. It might be hard for some people. Some people don't like Thanksgiving. Holidays are hard. I've talked about it before. Sometimes you had a death in the family or something really tragic happened. And anytime there's a holiday, you think about it. Or you could be a native indigenous person and think to yourself, I don't really like Thanksgiving. And that's fine, too. Just try to have a good day. And, the way I look at it is if you don't like Thanksgiving and don't like celebrating Thanksgiving, we give you a day off. So you can do whatever you want. I had this discussion with a Jewish coworker of mine, which I mistakenly asked, like, how was your Christmas? That's what you do. And she said, well, she had a Star of David necklace and a Star of David tattoo. She said, I don't really celebrate Christmas. And I said, oh, well, then how was your day off? And then she tilted her head and goes, it was pretty good. So I guess take the day off. With that, I'll leave everybody, again, a short episode, but I'll have the full review next week. But I at least wanted to give you, the nuts and bolts and stuff like that. And, have a good week, and I will talk to everybody again next week.